Now let's dive into all the effects, EQ, compression, and saturation. If you don't know anything about this, I'm gonna go really slow on the first drum and start to speed up as I progress. So I'm actually gonna start on the snare and turn this on. And now a lot of things have popped up. Whatever you're using, it's gonna be different, but you'll be able to find similar things. So I'm gonna start with EQ. With drums, there's a couple things that are really important to manage. So we want to watch out for low end buildup, but we need to make sure we get the fundamental low end, which is where the drum hits the hardest. It's like the base of the instrument. And then there's always some stuff in the mids that just gets out of control. Some mud or boxy or papery sounding sounds we need to take out. And then there's details on the top that we want to make sure we accentuate. I know that's a lot. I'm going to explain it one thing at a time. Okay, if you look at this, right here is our fundamental low end. If I boost this, that sounds good. That has nice punch and power. Below that is not good. It's more airy, woofy, and that's gonna get in the way of the kick. It actually makes the snare kind of sound like a kick. So what I like to do here is pull the low roll off. This is called a high pass, low cut filter. And we're gonna pull it up until this point. And some of you might be upset that I'm mixing with my eyes right now, but I'm doing this so that you see and can put a visual with the things we're hearing. Generally, I recommend just listening and using your ears. So I'm gonna move this up. Some high pass filters have what's called a resonant hump, and you can actually pull them up by adjusting the Q, and this is going to boost right before you cut. And I really like to do this because it's one move that handles the low buildup and boosts that low end that we want to add more of. So I'm going to pull this to here. So now we have dual control over making sure the super lows aren't getting in the way, and we have a nice area we can adjust to add more or less of the good lows. Here's without it. Here's with it. It's subtle. A lot of what we're gonna do here, we just wanna add a little bit, and if it's good, we'll do a little bit more. Another note is the bigger these mountains and valleys are in the EQ, the more modern it's gonna sound. So if you want something to sound smooth and vintage and a little more old school, keep these moves less aggressive, smaller. But if you want this to sound really modern and polished, like a metal or rock or like cutting edge country, then you're gonna make these bigger, if that makes sense. Third thing we wanna look for, because we handled the low buildup and the good lows, is the nastiness in the middle, the mud. To do this, I grab another band, and we want kind of a wider cue to start. The wider this is, the more frequencies you're affecting, and the smaller it is, the less frequencies you're affecting. So I like to start wider, and then I can adjust to taste from there. But what we're gonna do is boost and check around this mid area as low as 500 up to 1K and find the stuff that just sounds awful. Any drum close mic has this, I guarantee it, and you just need to find where it is and pull it down. That's not good. That's not good either. That kind of stuff is just awful. So we're gonna pull it out. And again, the more of this we pull out, it's gonna sound more modern, more polished. And the more we leave it, the more kind of open, old school it's gonna sound. So just find the balance for what you're going for. Like something like that. The last thing we want to do is find some good top end and enhance it. With snare specifically, there's usually something good between 2 and 4K, and then there's usually something good on top between like 8 and 10K. I'm gonna search those two areas with kind of a medium cue here. That sounds pretty good. Let me also check the top. Pull that down. So let me turn this off. Turn it back on. Okay, that's the first step. So next I'm gonna move on to compression and distortion. Compression is more important than distortion, but this module has both, so we're gonna tweak them both a little bit. Turn it on, turn on compression. Ratio, I always like to do either 3 or 4 to 1. I'll do 3 to 1 here today. Ratio is basically when the sound exceeds the threshold, how much is that sound gonna be reduced by what ratio? 3 to 1 is just a good natural sounding one. And since these are software drums, we're not dealing as much with the inconsistencies of a real human. So we don't need to be aggressive with our compression. It's more to add that powerful snap kind of sound that we're used to hearing. The attack control is really important, but often misunderstood. The lower the control is set, the faster the attack is. And so this means when the sound comes in and exceeds the threshold, how quickly is that compressor going to engage and clamp it back down? The slower we set that attack, the more snap we actually get in the sound. So I'm gonna pull this threshold down till we start getting some compression, and then I'll open up or slow down the attack so you hear that start to come through. My ear always hears this start to come in around 16 to 20 milliseconds. Slower than that, you're not quite getting enough of it. Hear how it kind of sounds choked out? And then if I turn this up, we start to get more. Release does the opposite of attack. So attack is handling the start of the note, the punch, the transient, and release is handling the end. And so the longer we set this release, the longer the compressor is going to hold on to that gain reduction, that compression. Generally, I like to set this faster. I like the compressor to be fully released and done before the next hit happens. So up here, it's almost too much. It's kind of choking out the note, but if we have it faster, it kind of gets in and out in time. All right, next I'm going to engage this distortion. And now I don't love the term distortion for this because I'm not looking for a distortion sound, but rather I'm looking for color. So color is really some sort of saturation or sauce you can add to your drums to help them pop and be more exciting. Addictive Drums has different things here. I really like tube pair or transformer. These are a little more, give you that analog sound, where some of these like heavy are just a lot. I'll show you what heavy sounds like. If you want to get experimental, you can do that, but I prefer a little more natural sounding here. So there's an amount and a mix, and I'm just going to mess with these until we get something that sounds cool. That's not cool. And just because it doesn't sound good where the amount's at doesn't mean you can't use it. You might just need to pull the mix down. Having the mix at 0 means you're getting 0% of that sound, and having it at 100 means you're getting 100% of the transformer sound. Here's without it. Here's with it. Just kind of gives it a little something extra. Next is tape and shape. So these are two other things I like to do to drums. Tape is going to give you that hitting tape sound. I know that's hard to describe, but that's a popular sound. I would recommend messing with it and seeing if you like it. And then shape is going to be a transient designer. So I'll explain that in a second. So for tape, I usually just like to add a little bit. Too much, and it gets to be too much. You can mess with bottom, but this is going to start to mess with your low end here. I just like to put a little bit on there. Here's without it. Here's with it. It's just like a little extra sauce. And then here's shape. So a transient designer works similar to how a compressor does when you have it dialed right. And you can adjust the individual, like how much smack on the attack of the drum do I want, and how much sustain, how much ringing out do I want it to have. So I'll really exaggerate these so you can hear what it's doing. So here's the attack. So pay attention to right when the drum hits. It's that powerful smack sound. If I pull it the other way, it's going to start to suck that out. I usually just like to add a little bit. Sustain will do the opposite, and this is going to affect the tail or the ringing of the drum. So if you push this higher, it actually extends it, which I don't really care for. So I'm going to pull this back a little bit. Kind of tightens things up. So let me turn all this off and turn it back on so you can hear. Here's with it. The last thing that Addictive Drums has that I enjoy is called saturation. And what this is basically doing is soft clipping. And if you're not familiar with soft clipping, it's when a sound gets too loud on the levels, it actually gently just rolls off that top. Like makes me think of slicing off cheese, like a slice of cheese. It just kind of cuts the top, but it does it in a pleasing way. So the more I pull this threshold down, it's actually going to clip the top of this drum and keep it from getting too loud. So you'll notice when this is off, we're hitting close to -9. When I turn this on, pull it down some, it's actually pulled our peak back down to -12 where we wanted it, and it's not losing any perceived volume because you're still getting that aggressive impact. It's just kind of, it's soft clipped a little bit. So I really enjoy that. Here is nothing. Here is everything. That sounds way better to me. The reason I did it all on one is because now we can copy and paste this and tweak it, and it'll be a much faster setup and a more consistent sound between all of our drums. So I'm going to copy all channel insert effects settings and come over to kick and paste all channel insert effects settings. And now we are like ready to go. We already have our starting point. We just need to tweak some of these to match the drum we're now mixing. The fundamental of kick, the bass, is way lower. So we need to find that and adjust it. Something sounds just terrible. Let me turn these off. To me, this sounds really good right around 50. Let's check the mud. There's a lot in there. I'm also going to check a little bit lower and just make sure there's nothing muddy that we don't like. Like that's questionable. Let's check these top points. I like that. Let's engage this distortion. Way too much, so we're going to really pull this back down. Not all distortion or color plugins have this, but there's a focus, and this will actually tell it where to distort. So by pulling this above about 100 Hertz, which would be around right here, it's basically saying, hey, we're going to distort above this point, but we're not going to mess with this because this is what's making that yucky distorting sound. Now we could go over to tape, add that drive. Now is where the bottom on the tape is really nice because it'll fatten up the bottom of the kick. And check shape and saturation. Great. Let's hear it with the snare. Great. At this point, now that you kind of understand what's going on, I'm going to open up the whole kit and start to do this a lot faster. The other only important elements to do this much processing to are the toms. And then other stuff like the hi-hat and the overheads and room, we're going to do a lot less and be a little more gentle with. So let me find the toms here. Let me paste. Oh, that's awful. Pull this focus up, mixing the amount down. So same thing, we need to find the bottom here. It's right about here. If it's too low, it's going to get thumpy. If it's too high, it won't have the right bottom. So just try to find that sweet spot. Somewhere in there, that's not good. We'll check this top. Actually don't like that, so I'm not going to boost it. And then the very top. Something like that. Everything else can stay how it is. Let me copy this. Move to Tom 4, which is the only other one we're using. Paste all. And make adjustments. Something sounds like a basketball on this tom, so I'm going to try to find that and get rid of it. It just sounds like those dodgeballs from gym class. It just, ooh, I don't like it. And now these are way too loud, so I'm just going to turn them down a little bit. And let's hear it in context. And I'm going to pull the sustain down on both of these just so they get out of the way faster. Nice. Okay, hi-hat. Some drum plugins give you an option for a hi-hat close mic, which is what this is. Other times you just have to deal with what you hear in the room. But honestly, the hi-hat close mic can be really abrasive and can be too much. So let me turn this on, you can kind of hear. So too loud and it actually feels like it pulls it out of the room and just puts it right in your face, which I don't like. And then I also want to solo up the overhead and hear where this is panned or placed in the overhead. Over there. I just try to balance it between the two so it has a little bit of enhancement from the close mic, but it's not anything crazy in the way. And now you might think I'm crazy, but all I do here is just get rid of lows. This is not doing anybody any favors. I don't compress it, I don't saturate, it's such a small source, it's not worth spending time on. Overheads. I like to control low end because it's important for all that low end to just come directly from the kick. We don't want to boost much of that. And actually roll off a little bit of highs here just to keep it a little contained and it'll help it sit better in the rest of your mix. And that's all I do there. Maybe some compression. I actually keep the attack really fast here because I want the main smack and transient to come from the close mic, not the overheads. And now I'll move it on to the room. It's going to be a really similar process. Clean up the low end a bit. Clean up the high end a bit. I just want some gentle compression for kind of control and give it some vibe. And so let me unsolo everything now. Now let's put it in the track. Kick is actually a little too boomy, so let's tweak that. Needs a little more top, so I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna leave that where it's at. A little more of these. Maybe my bass is too loud. Toms are still too loud. We'll pull them a bit more down. Now is when you can play with your room mic again and figure out how big you want the kit to sound.